some people ran out and got the iPhone 10 like I did initially, and then I was disappointed with it. Do you think people are going to run out and get these new phones right away?
Look, I do think so. I think bigger is better here. The latest research out of Cantor World Panel shows that people use bigger smartphones for more apps, more video games, and more video watching. So I think Apple's tapping into that. I think today's going to be a yawner of an event, not going to be any wow factor product introductions. But Apple doesn't need to innovate massively anymore. They just need to iterate to grow. And I think bigger screen sizes is really the foundation of that strategy. You
know, you speak about growth. The company has been complaining about the tariff fight with China impacting its growth. So President Trump says the iPhone should be assembled domestically to avoid being hit by his proposed tariffs on China. But some analysts say that that'll raise phone prices by 20%. What is your take on that?
Yeah, no, we actually would agree. You know, if you actually were to bring a lot of that production in-house here within the U.S., the component cost would just be way too high to really make that feasible. So our view is, can Apple bring some of that production here inside? Yes. You'll see some of that via displays, which has already been announced with a relationship with Foxconn. But that being said, I wouldn't expect any time in the near future for them to be able to circumvent those tariffs via producing it here within the U.S.
But it's not that easy to do, right? I mean, Susan Lee was with us yesterday, and she said Apple has like 1.3 million people working on the iPhone in China. How do you reposition those people to do it in America? Lou, you don't think the tariffs are going to have much of an impact, do you?
Look, maybe I'm the contrarian here, but so be it. I don't think they are. You mentioned you're not going to move a workforce from overseas domestically, and really the tariffs don't initially impact the iPhone. So maybe Tim Cook sees it fit for a political gesture to move some production here, but at the end of the day, it's not going to impact prices significantly. I mean, Apple, you have a company that has the best pricing power out of any company ever in existence. An extra $50 to $100 on a $1,000 device is not going to deter buyers. And if you have any doubt, look at the last iPhone refresh. So many pundits were convinced that consumers were going to punt and not buy the iPhone 10. And what happened? The exact opposite. They had a record number of sales for the iPhone 10. So
how would you compare the U.S. customer to overseas? Because there's some analysts, Angelo, that said the iPhone has not performed well in places like China, India. What can be done to up that competition?
Yeah, I mean, when we kind of look at the difference here between kind of the more emerging and developed markets, I mean, clearly Apple has a great presence within the more developed markets, specifically here within the U.S. And because of that, they're able to, upcharge those customers. That being said, we do think part of the reason they're looking to, let's say, continue to have a lower priced option, and for them, a lower priced option would be about $699, is to try to continue to gravitate to areas like a China, potentially, higher net worth, customers out in India. But that being said, we think it's very far-fetched to think that Apple will be able to all of a sudden be able to be successful in some of these emerging regions. It's just not the way their kind of business works.
How do you think this tariff fight plays out for Apple?
Well, currently, we only expect about 5-6% of their revenue actually being exposed from the proposed tariffs that have been announced, that being the watch, the AirPods, and what have you. So it's going to be minimal at best here. But that being said, if it were to somehow get to the iPhone level, we actually agree with Lou here in the sense that, they'd be able to pass on a good chunk of the higher prices to consumers, maybe about 10% of that. But at the end of the day, I mean, we continue to believe that iPhones will not be touched when it comes to tariffs.
Which is why you still have a buy rating on it.
Correct. We do have a $255 target on that.
And Lou, you're not worried about growth getting impacted?
No, I'm not worried about growth getting impacted. Look, I mean, Apple is a Goliath in a market with absolutely no Davids running around. I mean, their dominance is secured. They have the highest ASPs, the highest profit margins. I mean, they take the lion's share of the smartphone profits. And they've proven time and time again. Tim Cook is not a slugger that looks to hit dingers. Yeah. He's Mr. Reliable. He hits singles and doubles. And the proof is in the scoreboard. I mean, the stock's up 250% over the last 5 years, 300% under his tenure. First company to hit $1 trillion market cap. I mean, the results speak for themselves. They continue to iterate and grow.
It sure is. Angelo Zeno, Lou Basenese, thanks very much. Good to see you both, gentlemen. Coming up, the FCC.